Alright, the next arc, Magical Girl Raising Project Jokers. We have a new set of girls here, which means we got a new set of girls to rank here on the tier list. First, though, I do want to do some housekeeping, some cleaning up on what I said about Limited last time. I failed to mention that Piffle was in fact the one behind Toko and Rain Pao. Piffle is, of course, morally dubious, right? And is in fact trying to assassinate magical girls who she considers in her way so she can raise her position in the magical kingdom. That morally dubious nature is what kept me so interested in her when I was reading Restart, and it's even more highlighted in Jokers. Jokers, she's under house arrest, she removes her own memories, and she's the one who creates the artificial magical girls. She's so morally dubious and is such a believer of the ends justify the means. She is still my favorite character. I love that she's relevant and that she's almost somewhat of an antagonist, but is doing what she believes is right. It's so interesting. Just her entire existence is so interesting. Also, Mana is not dead. The whole weak death thing that I was arguing about with her in Limited, it's because she didn't die. She just passed out from an overdose. She seems to be a little better, a little happier. She's living with May and Nanako-san. Perhaps I was too harsh on her. She does get bottom of B, so my bad, Mana. You're alive and slightly relevant. I'm sure we'll see you in side stories or perhaps in upcoming arcs. You were just kind of a mention, though, in Jokers here. And I think that's all the housekeeping I needed to do. If there is any more, well, I guess I've neglected. But first, Snow White. She did in fact return. I predicted that she would return in this one because Ripple returned in the last one, and she did. The magical girl hunter, and lo and behold, her favorite phrase, lo and behold, she was not in a great mental state, huh? She wasn't hunting Fowl, who we get his perspective in lieu of Snow White's perspective, was trying to pep her up and convince her and trying to serve her to the best of his ability. Fowl is getting a big jump all the way up to like Rianetta level at least. I'm surprised at how much I liked Fall in Jokers, honestly. I think his perspective was really interesting. We don't really get the perspective of, the digital familiars, but he's as much as Snow White's perspective as Shadow Gale was Piffle's perspective, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, he's relevant. Unfortunate for him that he still keeps that pun, verbal tick, because I'm pretty sure in Restart he said he didn't want it, but he helps Snow White, and Snow White does her thing, albeit in a fractured mental state. Snow White's great in this arc. She's basically staying where she is. I don't have much to say. She's looking for Ripple, and she was baited by that email from Ripple's magical phone. Stay strong, girl. Ripple is right next to you, and we'll get to that. But stay strong. You got this. So I've kind of broken up the Jokers girls into their separate groups here. I wasn't expecting there to be so many different groups that then kind of banded together against the true big bads, but we'll just go in order. Filru, the Threads girl, and the one who is like living paycheck to paycheck and is running out of money. I really liked her. We have a few, right, of these like down to earth, human perspective magical girls I really like. I think of Detect Bell. I think of who was the other one that had a really down to earth perspective. There's another one and it's slipping my mind. Maybe Kodokuro Hime a little bit, but regardless, I really did like Filru, probably on the level of Pechka. There's no really particular reason to it. She was the last death, unfortunately. She almost survived, even if she was like really wounded. I like her thread work. Any character that uses threads is cool. Um, she has a pretty design. I like that purple hair. I like her yarn balls. I don't have much to say about her, but she was really solid. And, I was sad to see her go. So she goes up there. Utakata's going right next to her. Now, this is purely bias, right? She doesn't really do much of the story, but her stupid design is actually really appealing to me. It was like I don't know what you even call those purple orbs on her. I guess they're like bubbles, right? Because of her abilities to make mysterious bubbles. But those purple orbs are funny. I like her bubble ability. I like how she uses it in tandem with Filru, and her overalls look is really fun and cute. It's kind of like a weird combination of like naked apron but overalls, and then you got the bubbles dotted all over it. She's odd, but her kind of casual nature and all that, and just how she was somewhat sarcastic, but she might have meant well, but she was also looking for herself, and she was confident she was going to survive, and then didn't. But I like Utakata a lot. I wish she was around longer because always my favorite style early on, but whatever. Unfortunately, though, Kafuria, the third of like the freelancer group, Kafuria, did not really do much for me. She's like under Captain Grace. Her whole like widow aesthetic is really cool, and I like the crow wings and the veil and the flower crown and everything. Like her design is great. It's really unique in this series for sure, with all those dark colors and the obscuring of the face and everything. And we actually do get Stanska as obscuring the face too here, but regardless, she's pretty neat. Her ability, which is knowing who will be the next to die, could have been like really interesting in a more mystery arc, like Restart, rather than a Battle Craze one like Joker's was. And all she really does after her introduction is be like, wow, I'm not the next to die. And then she ends up becoming the next to die. So the villain, the true villain in this arc is Grimheart. And, we'll get to Grimheart when we do. But Grimheart says off with her head, and Kafuria already knows that she's going to die next. And when she was introduced, I was thinking, okay, she's used to death. She knows she's going to die. She's a little smug about it. All we see her in her moments of death is a mental breakdown, tears streaming. She knows she's gonna die, and it's because of her panic that she dies. So she kind of looped herself into her own death. Tragic, but we out of the the freelancer trio. They were all friends. We really did not get much of her. She was just captured and killed, and that's unfortunate. I really would have liked to see more of her, especially with that cool design. But in good conscience, I really can't put her much higher. Umbrain is unfortunately the same. She gets captured and she's killed right after Kafuria to replenish Shufflin. And that's unfortunate. Like her design is super cute. The huge umbrella with like the clouds within the umbrella. She got candy everywhere. The ringlets and the yellow raincoat and the purple boots. Everything about her design is like awesome. Like in terms of, wow, this design is awesome. Too bad you didn't do anything. That I felt that with Nemarine at first initially. That's how I felt with Umbrain and Kafuria too. Like these are such good designs, and they just didn't do anything. Her umbrella can block anything. I think that would have been really cool to see in more combat. She only really used it once against Princess Quake, but alas, you were beheaded, just like the person next to you on the tier list. Lady Proud is under Kafuria for much the same reason. She wasn't captured. She actually fought. She was partners with Umbrain. I like her multicolored hair and how it flows out. Her whole vampire design is pretty neat. I love that she's part of the department that Archfiend Pam was in, and that she's trying to make use of like the power vacuum to stand up for herself, because she's Lady Proud. She's proud of who she is. So proud that she rushes into battle, refuses to back down from the demons/disruptors, and then dies. Too proud, indeed. Um, Another one that could have really just done more, you know? Like, her design was really neat. That flowing cape, that multicolored hair, just she seemed like she was more than she was, and she wasn't. Which, it's unfortunate, but what can I say? You can at least be proud of your design because it is really cool. Now we get the pure elements, these five. So these are the first four are artificial magical girls, and that's why this whole plot starts. The only survivor of them is Princess Deluge, or Deluge, however you want to say it. Princess Deluge. Um, let's see. She's probably a B, right there, I would say. Um, she was alright. I mean, she's the only survivor. She seems worse off than Snow White mentally, going by Nautical Psalm's epilogue there. She hasn't moved out of bed, really. She was the middle schooler of the group, I do believe. Right, so she was the middle schooler, Inferno was the high schooler, Quake was the university student, and then Tempest was the elementary schooler, right? Yeah. So she survived her ice powers. I mean, their ice powers. In terms of her whole design, kind of being like a mix between a siren and like almost like a nymph and mermaid, all that. It's really pretty. Like, her hairstyle is unique and the colors are super nice. And I don't know what that chain is coming from her neck and around her and stuff. But her trident is. Oh, it's coming from her trident. Okay. And yeah, I mean, her design is really, really, really cool. Um, and she is in the next arc, going by the synopsis, and she does take a certain turn. But I'm not going to judge her above or below where she is right now, because we just don't know where she's going. But she was neat. Inferno was the best by far of the artificial magical girls. I'd say above Filru, because that whole moment is she yeah. So that whole moment where she was charging in against the Joker, Shufflin, and all that. I felt like hype, like I was like, yeah, girl, go for this, you do this, girl. And of course, Grimheart stopping the whole thing really like struck my heart and killed me. But Inferno's design is also really neat. She's got like like a really nice blend of like reds and blacks, and she's got a scorpion tail. Anyone with a scorpion tail is cool. I'm just saying. Um, I don't really know what a scorpion has to do with fire, but I digress. Point is, her she's also like friends with Koyuki, Snow White. So that's pretty neat. And is also friends with Tempest before they became magical girls. But yeah, Inferno is great. She's like that. Her last stand is what really stood out to me the most. I like that she used her luxury mode in clever ways. I don't know. She was just the best fighter. She's one of the coolest designs in this group, and I felt something when she did not get her last stand. So good job, Inferno. Next up is Princess Quake. I don't know how to feel about her, right? Because Princess Quake she's the Earth one, right? She has a huge hammer. I love girls with huge hammers. Her design, though, is a little interesting. Like, the legs are odd a little bit. Her dragon tail is cool. It reminds me of La Pucelle. But then there's her human side and the certain activity her human side partakes in. If you've read Jokers, you know what I mean. What she is an enthusiast of and what she sketches, that I don't think I've ever had like such a bad taste in my mouth reading from any of these characters. But like, there's also that side of her that is noble and good as a magical girl, and because she finds happiness with her four friends, there's some goodness in that. I just really do not know how to place her, so I'm gonna put her there. I don't know, like, she's cool, and then some parts she's okay, cool, stay away, But she tried to protect Tempest and she tried to protect Inferno, so there's some nobleness in that. Um, I just really don't know with her though. So she goes there. Tempest, poor Tempest. You got this young girl who's becoming a magical girl out of excitement and is trying to woo over someone in her magical girl form. And I really thought she was gonna live. Like the youngest of the bunch is gonna live, and she'll grow one way or the other, good or bad from that. Turns out it was delusion instead. I really like Tempest. Her design is nice. I feel like she's the first elementary or like young magical girl who actually has the mindset of an elementary schooler that you would expect. Swim is swim, right? And there was another one that I'm like missing here. And Anoko is also like elementary school or early middle school. And she's had to grow up fast. Tempest is what we get when we just have a young innocent girl wrapped up into all this. Honestly, I like her more than Deluge. Do I like her more than Melville and Masked Wonder? Or even Top Pop, Rain Pal. I like her. I just do not know where to place her. I really hate how she died too, crying and crying and kneeling and prostrating herself before Grimheart and everything. It's just rough, man. Top Pop and her are probably about the same. Do I like her more than Melville though? You know what? She's just gonna go above Deluge. It's hard. The more I read, right, the more I need to consider all these magical girls and who am I placing them above and all that. And it gets harder to place. So from now on, just consider a general placement, right? Or just take my thoughts for it and make your own mental tier list based on what I have said, right? But Tempest, her design is real fun. I like the golden apples in her hair. I think all of the pure elements have like kind of bikini-ish designs. I think hers is, along with Deluge's, is the most like fitting for what they are. Her color palette's really neat. The green apple eyes and all that. She's kind of giving off like a Mother Nature vibe, despite being like for wind, which is an interesting comparison or disparity. I don't know how you want to put it, but poor Tempest, man. Like I really wished rather that she would not get the scythe, but she did because Grimheart is incompetent. Because Grimheart is Grimheart. Prism Cherry is awesome. She's going right up there with Inferno. Is she going above Inferno? She'll go under Inferno. Prism Cherry is a normal magical girl. She's not an artificial one, but she does join the pure elements because she just wants to become friends with magical girls and she wants to have excitement in her life because she's tired of being a quote-unquote normal girl. Prism Cherry is like super pretty as a design though, like the prisms, right? She got a full art in the book, I think. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, like her hair shines and her cherries shine, like the cherry hair clip and the neck brace and everything. And she's just really shiny and pretty, and I don't know, like it's a really cool design. I like that her ability is to like reflect stuff in mirrors that she can summon and all that. She can transform the reflections in her mirrors to how she determines them to be. She's the light elemental if you're going by the pure elements. And she just learns to be part of the group, right? Like the pure elements are like that traditional magical girl group, which Magical Girl Racing Project has not done before. Maybe Piffle was thinking, oh man, I love magical girls. I should do it like the classics, and that's why she made them like that. But Prism Cherry's great. I like that she's so interesting that Frederica saved her so she could come back later on as like, oh, surprise. And of course, Prism Cherry, with her hair being as sparkly and shiny and multicolored and changing as it is, of course, Frederica is going to be like, I need to save you. And save her, she does. Nurse her back to health within like a day. That medicine must go crazy. And Prism Cherry comes back for that final battle against I think that's the Ace of Spades and one of the clubs for Shufflin. But I really like Prism Cherry. It sucks that she went but she did get a second chance, and she took that second chance to give up her life to really end things and protect who she could. So respectable, honorable. Good job, Person Cherry. What is next? Okay, Stansiga is a really unique situation, right? Because he's technically someone else on this list, but also not at the same time. Stansiga is a silent jester. Her magic can dazzle people with her magic performances. She's also Ripple. She is brainwashed Ripple. Frederica, as we mentioned last time, or earlier this time, or whatever. Brainwashed Ripple at the end of Limited, but also like brainwashed her within the brainwash. Apparently Ripple didn't, I think if I'm recalling correctly, Ripple didn't even realize she was Stansica, right? Because Frederica gave Ripple a temporary extra arm and the mask and maybe even the abilities, I don't even know. That Pukin's sword for brainwashing must go crazy if it can do something like this. So I don't know if I should rank Stansica as her own character, or if I should rank her as Ripple, right? I mean, I really like Stansica. Her full art in the book is really neat. It's kind of just Jester Ripple in terms of design. She's got some sort of neck scarf, right? She's got like the dark colors. She's got the exposed tummy and all that. Like, she's just Jester Ripple. And I think her earnestness, that Snow White could read her heart, and her earnestness is really neat. I'm gonna put her in SS just because she was cool. I mean, I like the design a bunch. It's hard, right? Like, I don't want to put her over Snow White because in terms of what she did in Jokers, I guess I could rank her as her own character. I mean, she's at least an A, right? She's probably, she's bottom of A. I mean, I could rank her like right next to Ripple, but Stansica is neat. So we'll just do that. These tier lists are going to get more confusing, I bet. This is Styler Mimi. So the person who got dragged around by Marika Fukuroe, who is this flower girl next to her, but said she hated it, but didn't really hate it. She was great. I really liked her as well. It's hard, right? I like her more than Top Pop. No. Maybe there. Under Stansica. No, above Stansica. Yeah, Styler Mimi is great. She supported. Her highlight was disguising Snow White as Filru so they could trick Grimheart during the negotiation. That was really cool. I like her ability. It's not combat oriented, but she does use her scissors for combat. The fact that she styles people as Styler Mimi is really neat. Her design is fun. At first I confused her with Filru a whole bunch, but I realized the differences in them pretty quickly. So she stood out on her own, and she did what she did, and as a support to Marika, and also playing the Shadow Gale to Marika, right? I appreciate her. So yeah, that was neat for her. Marika, right? Yes, Marika Fukuroe. I love her. She was so cool. She's like above Inferno. Pechka is like the barrier to cross here, I guess. I really like Pechka. Thinking back on Restart, I like Pechka a whole bunch. But yeah, Marika is great. Her whole flower ability is really intricate and super cool, and references Magical Daisy. So Daisy, her Daisy, right? Flower is a Daisy beam, which is implied to be really strong, like this Magical Daisy over here. Maybe even vaporizes. She changes her flowers to one that like spins around like a buzzsaw. There's various beams. I think there's one that produces fruits that heals, right? That heals the pure elementals if they lick it, but it's also like a drug, so don't lick it too much. She's very versatile. She's not afraid to get her eye poked out and her bones damaged. And she just heals completely in the sun if she has sun and water. She's real powerful. She is a student, as is Styler Mimi, of the Archfiend Cram School, which is a really funny pun. on Archfiend Pam, which it was her school, and that's she raised the magical girls how she wanted them to be, and that school taught her teachings. So you kind of understand how Marika is the way she is because of how Archfiend Pam was attempting to teach Postery and Rainpow. So that's a nice little bow on that little side quest that was happening, in terms of lore in the series. So, but Marika's great. She does survive, and her human form, Mariko Fukuroi, wonderful naming scheme, girl. Change one letter or one character, I guess, in the Japanese. I'm not sure if it's kanji or whatever, but she's I think a botanist or something. She studies plants, and she deliberately gets foreign seeds because she eats seeds to change her flowers on her head and body during her magical girl form, which is really cool. So she's great. I like what she does, and that whole final scene where she's up against the Shufflins, and just her gusto and battle energy is real fun, even if everyone thinks she's a pain in the butt. I mean, she is in some ways, but it's because of that energy and willingness to continue to push forward. It's because of that they won, and that whole scene where Styler Mimi dies and she's questioning what she is and how to move forward, and then eventually losing herself to anger but still winning in the end. It's great. It's something right at the end that peers into her, and it's really entertaining. So good job, Marika Fukuroi. Grimheart, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I do not like Grimheart at all. I don't like her as an antagonist. I don't like her personality. I just do not like her. I think even Calamity Mary has more than Grimheart does. Grimheart is one of the three sages of the Magical Kingdom, so she's an overpowered and just real quick in the neck type of person. Her design is really pretty. The red and blacks, the Queen of Hearts type of design, the Alice in Wonderland motif is really cool. So she ignores everyone that does not give her proper respect. This is both mentally, emotionally, and ability-wise. So if if a daisy beam were to hit her, if she did not acknowledge you first, she's not vaporized. She's just there, yawning as she does on her throne at her desk. As an antagonist, she really is not. She's just one giving orders because she hates to do things herself, right? She's just the overpowered boss in a chair that doesn't take damage. She speaks off with her head because she doesn't feel like talking to people. Like, the little bits of her perspective that we do get are her being angry that she needs to do things, or angry that things aren't going her way, or both. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand her. I just don't. I guess her goal was to get artificial magical girls to study them and then make herself and her faction more powerful. But I just can't. As a main antagonist, I just cannot. I cannot like her. I just don't know what it is. I mean, she gets points over Telco in 5 because she's not a mascot. She's not a one-note character. There is the very slightest of subtleties with her, but I just, unfortunate, right? With a cool ability like that, you'd think she'd be more magically or more battle inclined, considering this is a battle arc. It's just battling most of the time. But it's just I couldn't vibe. I really couldn't. Now, her subordinate is way different. Shufflin, which I'm noticing a trend here. Wedding, Shufflin. You just put in English words with ing at the end, and you're taking out the G. It's okay. It's cool enough. Shufflin is super cool, dude. I'm nearly considering Shufflin as the antagonist because Grimheart. Grimheart. I can't even say her name right. Shufflin is almost like Pukin level, right? And Archfiend Pam level in terms of like cool battle prowess and magical ability. I don't like her though more than Marika. Um, so she's probably above Filru, I would say. Yeah, she is up there in A. Um, but you know, I would. It's interesting, right? Because and the arc is called Magical Girl Jokers, and Shufflin is basically a living suit of cards. There's the 52 in the deck. The Joker, which is the main Shufflin body, controls all the other Shufflins, and it's basically four suits. You got the diamonds, you got the hearts, you got the clubs, you got the spades, and each of the suits serve a certain purpose. So the diamonds are intelligence, and they handle the machines. The hearts are literally they mutter and are shy and are almost incompetent, other than being just like punching bags. Which living as a Shufflin heart, that's rough, buddy. Especially if you're a one of hearts. That is the worst existence in the Shufflin hierarchy. I feel so bad. Then you have the clubs, which are for assassination and espionage, and then you have the spades, the most menacing ones. With the spears, they are the main attacking force. So once all the main characters realize that Grimheart and Shufflin are the big bads, they team up and they go against the two, but it's really the one plus the entire deck of cards. And Shufflin is a menace. Like, she's calculated. She's basically commanding everything. She realizes that she's serving someone who's somewhat incompetent, but she does it because she's the Joker card. She's Rai, WRY, because I can't say it, Rai, and sighing but smiling crookedly. Like, I don't know. She's just odd and also cool, and she was a full menace, and I think that's neat. I like that her eye displays the suit that she's currently using. So in this art, she's the spade, but her whole dress changes depending on the suit as well as her powers. Like I mentioned, she was really neat, and I'm gonna pull what I did last time with the limited arc, and I just want to read how Jokers ended, because another struck another chord with me. Not as much as Tepsekame, but hold on. By the way, Tepsekame, she's living with Nanako-san now, and she's learned to emote a little bit and is watching TV dramas and stuff and reading books. I'm so happy. You go, May. You're great. I love you. Learn to love the world and see the world for what it is. Keep growing. I'm cheering you. I am cheering you on. I am your biggest supporter right now. I hope you return and stay the awesome wind Arabian dancer girl tortoise that you are. Anyway, back to Shufflin. She's the last perspective we get before the epilogue, and in the epilogue, Shadowgale actually betrays Piffle a little bit and gives Piffle's memories to Snow White, which seems to be setting up the next arc. Or was that the first? Or was that the prologue of Aces? Because I did read the prologue of Aces, which is the next arc, and also Shufflin appears as Shufflin the second. I don't even know if there's a second Shufflin on this list. I might have to rank the two Shufflins as one. But we'll get to that when we finish Aces. Regardless, Shadowgale, you're still maintaining your position because you seem to have more to the plot than Nanako at the moment, but you're kind of neck and neck right now. I'm getting off track. Shufflin, I'm going to go ahead and pull what I did with Tepsekame, and I'm going to read the end, the final page. Technically 2 pages on how it appeared on my phone, because I'm reading this through Kindle digitally. But anyway, this is through the Joker, the main body of Shufflin, that perspective. Right, so let's see. The Joker watched her go. Grimheart probably wouldn't make it at this point. The magical girls were free. They had been unable to keep them locked up. The Shufflins filed after Grimheart. Grimheart had forgotten her comportment as a lady of nobility and was walking with great strides. Joker had managed to predict it all accurately until the end. It was no use for that woman now. If the Shufflins were to follow her, it would only bring destruction and no benefit. No matter how far they went, the end was the end. Just where have they gone wrong? Shufflin was strong, Grimheart even stronger, but they let them get away. Was it because they underestimated the magical girl Hunter? Or was it not their underestimation of her, but of the magical girls of this world? Looking at the monitor, the Joker breathed a sigh. At the same time, wry, there's that word, W-R-Y, wry chuckle escaped from her lips. For some reason, seeing Grimheart panic was so funny. Joker followed the Shufflins, joining the line, going after Grimheart. She might as well follow her to the end. It wouldn't be so bad to meet destruction together with her. And then on my phone, on my phone through Kindle, there was one sentence, blank, this sentence, on the very last page before the epilogue. It was just this sentence at the top. It was what it was. That might have been a pure coincidence. I do believe that the Kindle app resizes pages depending on your font and everything. But something about it was what it was being on that last page for Shufflin, and Shufflin just accepting her fate despite being very much able to leave it. Shufflin following Grimheart despite knowing that she's incompetent despite her power. Shufflin knowing that they could have won if they were smarter. Shufflin knowing a lot of things. There's a lot to her that's not explored. There's a lot of intrigue there. And she discards it all because it was what it was. She's cool. Her suit ability is cool. I love just all the design quirks about her, and in fact that she's really the true Joker's villain, I guess you could say, or antagonist, right? She's the main force they're always fighting against. This makes her so much better than Grimheart. Grimheart may have been the more powerful one, but she was a mere accessory, the plot device to give Shufflin the reason to act the way she did. And maybe Shufflin did it because she was the Joker. She thought it was a joke, or maybe there was some sort of honesty and loyalty and dedication to Grimheart that we just simply cannot know, right? I mean, they do have similar themes that Alice in Wonderland, the card soldiers and the Queen of Hearts and all that. But I don't know. I like Shufflin as an antagonist a bunch. She doesn't reach the peaks, I think, of the other ones. Just because Jokers is a one volume arc. There's a lot that isn't explored much, and that's fine, right? Because for what this was, Shufflin was a good antagonist. It's a battle arc where they're in a trapped rat situation. All the other magical girls. Shufflin's abilities are perfect for this type of situation. So as an antagonist, she served her role perfectly. So she gets an A. I really did enjoy her. And really, that's those are them. Those are the Jokers girls. One last anecdote, or not anecdote, addendum. There we go. That I can say is Frederica really pulled through with Stanska / Ripple / Prism Heart. Frederica is growing in my eyes because he seems to be more of a neutral force that has she's kind of like Piffle, where she's morally dubious. She wants to see magical girls flourish under what she considers a perfect magical girl, which is just Keek, but more entertaining and with a better design and a cooler ability. Sorry. But anyway, from what I've seen of Aces, Ripple is involved, Snow White is involved, Piffle is involved, Shadow Gale is involved, and there's a fifth one, maybe Nautical Sun. Either way, oh no, Deluge is involved. So those 5 are the returning magical girls for Aces, and then there's 11 new ones. So, well, 10, because Shufflin the second. But we'll see how Aces goes. It seems to be kind of a continuation of Jokers, which, the whole card naming trend there does make sense. But overall, Jokers kind of pulled a limited in that I don't know what I expected of it at the first, and once it got towards the end of it and started building up steam, I really did like it. I really would like to see these 3 more, and really just the freelancers as well, more in some sort of context in later on the series. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I always do one of these after every volume, so if I need to rearrange like I did for volume 4, I will. Besides that, all I can say is I don't know. Shufflin every day. She's shuffling. That was stupid. Sorry.